federal offices are still surrounded by razor wire fences, concrete barriers, and National Guardsmen. Wake up, America. These are dangerous days. Our military equipment and personnel are stretched thin and need major upgrades. I'm Jeannie Ives, co-founder of Breakthrough Ideas. Find out more at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Folks, when shopping for a home mortgage, how much is great service, low closing costs, and competitive interest rates worth to you? At Townstone Financial, it's priceless. Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. Let's hear about the Townstone experience from one of our customers.
This is John. I did my second home purchase with Townstone Financial. Just working with Barry and his team, they made everything easy. They took care of everything. Townstone was a great company to work with, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Townstone's going to give the better rate by far. They found the best rates. They found the lowest closing costs. Couldn't have had a better experience.
Remember, nobody values your home mortgage business more than Townstone. I guarantee it, and I own the company. So call me now, Barry Sterner, at 312-896-2110. That's 312-896-2110. Or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financial is licensed in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida. NMLS 136639. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender.
Need to know what it takes for a home loan to fit your budget and your family? Rocket can.
7:38 Team Hockberg Traffic Center time and Jim Telemonte.
On the inbound Kennedy, delays are from 190 to Lawrence and Addison to the Burns Circle. Trip time O'Hare to downtown is 42 minutes, 20 from Montrose, 15 in the Express, outbound 24 to the airport. Eden, 16 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 14. Inbound Eisenhower from 390 to downtown, it's 53 minutes, 38 from Wolf, outbound 25 minutes to 390. Northbound I-55 has delays from before 355 to Cass after a crash. At the Stevenson, it's 32 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-80 westbound, there's a delay from Center Street to before Larkin. Westbound 8094 traffic is sluggish. The roadwork Klein to Indianapolis Boulevard. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy and cooler today, high 59. Right now 55. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Mike Madigan runs the Democratic House floor for 30-plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out.
Dan and Amy, and that intro music means it's time for our weekly hit with Ted Dabrowski. He's the president of Wirepoint, wirepoints.org, a repository of all things policy-related in Illinois, public policy-related. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Dan and Amy.
All morning we were remembering the highlights from Janice Jackson's career as the CPS superintendent. I mean, there's so many to choose from, but please pick your favorite.
Well, I'll tell you her favorite. I won't even pick one. She said that she was very proud of opening the Office of Equity. And, that, of course, we all know what that means as it relates to the critical race theory and things like that. And the reason I think it shouldn't be that is because, the school district has been, predominantly black or brown for a long time. And if anything, what really should have been done is how to improve results there. And I've looked at that over the decade, and it's really sad how big the gaps are in what happens in education and CPS and elsewhere. So it's you can open all the offices of equity you want, but until you focus on education, reading, math, science, you're not going to get great results out of the kids there.
Well, just to that point, I looked up Westinghouse. Here's something you never hear anybody say. I'm trying to get my kid into Westinghouse. Westinghouse is where Miss Jackson was the principal before she was superintendent. It's ranked the 13th best high school in Chicago. Math proficiency, 41%. Reading proficiency, 40%. But graduation rate, 94%. That is such a great encapsulation of CPS for me. We're going to, the graduation rate's improved under Janice Jackson. So what does that mean? You're passing through people who can barely read. Well, they can't read or do math at grade level. They can barely do math and read at 8th grade level, but you're giving them a high school diploma to get them out of the system. And that's what we call progress in Chicago.
Yeah, that's precisely what we've covered, Dan, in the past, is that you see, and those are actually pretty good results at CPS. You know, you have the other schools that are far, far lower than that, and especially the bottom ones. You know, we did a review of some of them a couple of years ago, the ones that were didn't even have 20% capacity. The schools were effectively empty, and I think on those, the average of their college readiness was something like 5%. So the situation is really sad, and I think that's the big issue, that CPS has gotten really good at doing the promotional pass of students. You know, in 3rd grade, if they can't read, that's when you should have massive interaction and intervention right then. But instead, they do exactly what you said. They just promote them through. You know, Rahm Emanuel bragged about the increasing graduation rates, but the reality is that many of them are going to remedial. Those who do go to community college end up in remedial studies, and that's what has to be fixed, and that's what's broken.
It's not just Janice Jackson that's leaving, though. It's McDade, who I thought she was pretty effective. And then Arnie Riviera. They're all 3 top spots are leaving. And Mayor Lightfoot says she's hired a search firm of, former teachers and superintendents to find the next CEO of CPS. But we want somebody with a backbone that will stand up to the teachers union.
Well, but I think it's got us focused on the wrong issue. It's not about CEOs. The place is, sadly, it's a morally bankrupt and fiscally bankrupt place. And until we talk about how we totally reimagine learning for black and brown kids and white kids in Chicago, until we think about a totally different model, it's just going to be the same thing, right? We just have CEOs come in. Some of them are corrupt. Some of them quit. Nothing changes.
I can't understand why there is not more public pushback, public defense of the tax credit scholarship program. Number one, we've seen parents get their kids out of the system when opportunities are available. I mean, Bob Mazakowski's Chicago Hope Academy is 90% minority student too, like CPS, and they're on scholarship and stuff. So those are minority families getting their kids out of the system into a school that's actually going to provide their child the opportunity to earn an education and get on to success in their life. And we know that the wait list for the magnet schools, the charter schools, is in the tens of thousands. And yet, as I understand it, the continuation of the tax credit scholarship program in Springfield, which is under targeting for effective elimination by Pritzker, and of course the teachers unions, is going to rise or fall with the trade unions. If the trade unions don't mobilize, then this thing goes down. If the trade unions can mobilize and put enough pressure on the Democrats to hold the line on the tax credit scholarship program, maybe even remove the sunset, that's where it rises or falls. But I see evidence of demand, but then I see no response when somebody's about to cut off the supply.
Well, the big problem, and you've worked in this, and so have I for a long time. That the big problem is that the system has done such a great job of making public education something to be revered, and so it's almost untouchable. They argue that if you do any kind of school choice program, if you do any kind of empowering parents more to choose what's best for their kids, that is going to just suck the life out of the public schools. And there's just too many people who've bought into that whole concept that they can't really hear empowerment and school choice. They don't hear that. They hear weakening public schools, and that's why the public doesn't know what to do with it, and that's why it's still weak. But you're absolutely right. I think the trade schools are key. There's a huge movement that needs to happen, and that's that you can have the trade schools. You can actually teach kids not just how to be well educated, but also to be professionals, whether it's welding or plumbing, or there's a great many trades that can happen where people can be very successful, and that needs to be part of the whole school choice movement.
And maybe this is a bit naive on my part, but I'm all for the trade schools and the vocational schools, but I also have, I guess, a antiquated notion of education, not just at the post-secondary level either, which is, in part, it's to infuse character and give and help to shape young men and women as well-rounded individuals, as intellectually curious individuals, so they continue to learn throughout their life and have a thirst for learning, rather than just sort of institutions that drive them into a particular profession. That's all well and good, and that should be part of it, like I said. But that well-rounded liberal arts education is something that seems to be given short shrift these days, and I think that's a mistake.
Well, I agree with that, right? It's in the end, education for, certainly my perspective, for young people is how to teach them to critically think. You mentioned being intellectually curious, very similar concepts, but they've got to be able to think, and that's the whole purpose of education. Because if you can't think when you're older, you're kind of trapped. You're trapped in whatever life you're in, and you can't grow out of it. So that's a key.
There's a study out from the National Bureau of Economic Research on working from home, and one of the things they find, now this has not been peer reviewed yet, but this is something that they seem to be indicating is directionally happening. A shift to working from home will directly reduce spending in major city centers by at least 5 to 10% relative to pre-pandemic situation. It also suggests there'll be an increase in productivity in part because of the lack of a need to commute. But the pre-pandemic spending, that's on the private side, on the individual side. So here again, we're trying to get a handle on what big cities like Chicago are going to look like coming out of this pandemic as we slowly reopen. And by the way, that's what we're doing, slowly reopening. All of this hoopla
But we'll never
today,
get back to normal.
All this hoopla today about Chicago reopening is just that. We're not reopening. This is incremental. This is a snail-like pace. But nonetheless, thinking about it long term, where we expect, I think a lot of people expect some snapback, particularly while the weather's nice, and the indications are not so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, there certainly will be a snapback, but the question is, how short is it compared to what it used to be? And what I think people forget is that this whole time that revenues are down, all the debts, all the liabilities that a place like Chicago has continue to grow. Right? Chicago hasn't let off, hasn't reduced its workforce at all, hasn't cut any costs, and all those things continue to accrue at big levels. And so that's what I think a lot of politicians don't think about. And it's the same thing happening, by the way, in every single city in the state. And so those costs are accruing, the revenues are going to be weaker, and to sustain what we had, right, and population is not growing, to sustain those debts and just to keep functioning, you've got to have, one, lots of revenues, and two, you need to have a growing population. And when you have neither one of those, the crisis just keeps building up in the background.
Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois public policy related. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Their call for unity is a joke.
News.
The important question is not whether you're right or they're right, but why we shouldn't have the right to flip the channel.
Fuels. Opinion.
We have got to stop making it a crime to be a Republican.
News. Opinion. Insight. On AM 560. The Answer.
This is attorney Stephen Leahy. This isn't the first crisis we faced together. Back in 2008, business professionals in trouble sought help from bankruptcy attorneys, loan modification attorneys, foreclosure defense attorneys, and IRS attorneys trying to gain full financial recovery. They should have just called me. Let me tell you about Chuck. His small business crashed in the 2008 crisis. He faced 2 foreclosures, overbearing creditors, and the dreaded IRS. Chuck would not even get out of bed in the morning. His wife heard me on the radio and convinced him to hire me. We got Chuck a loan modification and a short sale. We obtained a discharge of his debt and settled what was left of his IRS liability. Now Chuck is back in business and in control of his life. You can hear Chuck tell his own story at fullfinancialrecovery.com We can get through this new crisis, too. The time to start rebuilding is now. Don't let your life's work go down the drain. Get your free guide to recovery at fullfinancialrecovery.com. That's fullfinancialrecovery.com. Or call me right now at 312-664-6649. There's no time to waste. Fight back now.
Guys, I want to encourage you to make your health a priority. It's easier than you think at LowT Center. They're reinventing the doctor's visit, making it quick and easy to get all of your levels checked, not just your testosterone levels. They offer a comprehensive health assessment so you know all the numbers important to your health. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, have lack of motivation and drive, have noticed weight gain and loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels, low thyroid, or even sleep apnea. LowT Center will help determine the cause of your symptoms and help you get back to feeling your best. It all starts with their quick and easy health assessment, which is covered by most health insurance. LowT Center is concierge medicine exclusively for men, and they now offer self-inject at-home testosterone treatments, providing convenience, and additional health monitoring measures for your safety, including a take-home blood pressure monitoring cuff. Self-inject at-home treatments are $135 a month for self-pay or covered by most health insurance. To schedule your health assessment, go to lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan Proft sent you when you do. That's lowtcenter.com. LowT Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
It's David Hockberg. If you or a family member are looking to purchase a new home, then you need to call Team Hockberg, your trusted local lender. Today, meet Aria, 30, web designer, income, $90,000 a year, purchasing her first home, and called her dad, Bob, for advice. Bob advised Aria to call the only lender he trusted, Team Hockberg, to help his daughter purchase her first home. Aria followed her dad's advice and called for a free consultation. Team Hockberg answered Aria's questions and approved her for a mortgage. We also introduced